So for the second part of experiment 3, they're just basically collecting the data. And so I just want to show you where all of that is. It's all sort of, you know, I mean, the directions, I do go over like the directions and so that they know where to find all the directions for the lab. So I'll just show you where everything is. So there will be a station for part 1. It'll be labeled part 1A. That is the hydrate. They put it in a test tube, they heat it, and then they'll be able to see the water condensation. And then once the test tube's cool, they'll put the what's left in the beaker. So the test tubes holders will be over here by the window. So you kind of have to remind them, like when they heat it, to not heat it vertically, but at an angle, and to make sure that they're holding their test tube, you know, like up at the top. And the Bunsen burners will be here. The strikers will be here. And so they'll just do that at their desk. And then the second one that they're going to set up is going to have, it'll basically look like this. So, and this little setup will be here for you also. So they'll need a ring stand, a circle clamp, a piece of the gauze, and then they'll have their big Erlenmeyer flask. And so the ring stands they get in the back under the balances, and then the ring clamp and the gauze they'll get over here by the window. And then they're going to get a bunch of baking soda. Well, not a bunch, but I have them kind of cover the bottom of the flask with baking soda. And so that'll be over here in this little station, part 1B. And while they're there, have them grab 2 flaming splints. And so the way that this will work is they will need to light their Bunsen burner. So have them have their Bunsen burner lit, like out, not underneath the baking soda. And then they'll light their flaming splint and drop it into the mouth of the Erlenmeyer flask and see how long it burns. And that they'll record that where it says part A for that particular part of the reaction. And then they move their Bunsen burner under the baking soda, catch it on fire with another flaming splint, and then add that to the flask, and it should go out like almost instantaneously. And then when they're done, they'll take the flaming splints, well, they won't be flaming anymore, but take those sticks, put them in the trash, and then they'll empty the baking soda in the waste container. And so that'll go right here. Okay, and then that is section 1B. And then for part 2, this is single replacement reactions. There will be waste containers for this. There's nothing super exciting, like it's magnesium with HCl, and then it's calcium with water. And this one is sometimes really vigorous, and so I usually tell them to grab a test tube holder. So the test tube holders are over there in the bookshelf where you see that blue color. And so I'll have them have their test tube in a test tube, like a test tube rack. And then that way, when they add the water in, if it's vigorous, they're not holding the test tube. Okay, and so that's section 2A and 2B. And then they empty all of their waste into the waste container. And then the last 2 are double replacement reactions. And so that's this one, double replacement, part 3C. This is all basically acid-base reactions, and they add phenolphthalein, it turns pink, and then there will be a waste container for it. And then the last set is, okay, that might have been 3C. So the 3A and 3B will be in another section, and these are all double replacement. They make precipitates, things like that, and then they'll put their, so this is all happening in their test tubes. And then they empty their test tube into the waste container, and then they can rinse those out in the sink. And then that's basically it for that particular part of the experiment. Then they'll just record all of their data in the data page. And, you know, if you can, it's good to always have them practice a little bit more of the balancing. I think that's it. All right. Bye.